Good morning, everyone. If you're joining us live, it's another Honeycomb Live for Five, and Derry and I are going to talk about a topic that's coming up for us with a lot of clients at the moment. It's quite a difficult question, this: how to ensure your client outputs are owned by your consultants, not their GenAI tools. That's a tricky question, so I'm going to pass it straight to Derry and see what he thinks first.
Oh, thanks, Cole. Throw me in the bus. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. So this is the question that's coming up a lot at the moment. A lot of chat about it on LinkedIn. A lot of comes up regularly in our client conversations as well. And I'm actually doing a webinar on it in a couple of months' time to kind of crystallize some of the thinking. So I've got basically 3 core tips on this. So let me just throw those out, and Cole, interested to get your reaction to them.
Yeah.
So the problem statement here is it's really easy these days for consultants to just chuck a bunch of stuff into GenAI. GenAI but creates some outputs that look broadly credible, and you can go and stick it in front of clients. And we've seen horror stories of big name firms doing that and getting caught out, and hallucinations from GenAI causing a problem. So I think there's 3 things people can do to combat this. One is good old-fashioned situation, complication, question, well-structured approaches to your consulting work, MECE structures, strong hypothesis, and triangulation of results. Good bread and butter stuff that consultants have been doing for years, still as valid as it's always been. So that's thing 1. Thing 2 is more and more shifting to a clear understanding of how your consulting work is aligned to client outcomes. And the more you can do this, the more junior consultants are going to develop that commercial judgment and that understanding of how the project as a whole and their work within the project rolls up into genuine outcomes for clients. And I like the model here of nested OKRs. So if you get a really good understanding of the overall OKRs for the client as a business and the OKRs for the project that you're supporting within that client, because often the consulting work is part of a broader piece of work that someone's doing. And then those OKRs can cascade all the way down to the junior consultant chucking some stuff into GenAI. And if they can understand that line of sight, then they'll get a much better ability to step back and ask about the so what of the outputs and sense check whether it really makes sense in that context. So there's good old-fashioned structuring. There's making sure you're aligned with client outcomes. The AI specific bit of this is to make sure that you're not falling into the temptation of efficiency over accuracy, and that you're building in enough time and expectation and resource for your junior consultants to be, 1, validating the outputs that come out of their GenAI tools, going back to original sources, cross-checking, driving all that good triangulation stuff, and also replicating the work that others are doing. And this is a really important step that a lot of people are missing, is we know that GenAI tools can, 1, hallucinate, and 2, not produce the same outputs for the same inputs all the time, depending on how you have the sensitivity measures set up. And so having somebody replicate the outputs using a different model enables both those junior consultants to get a better understanding of more situations and a better understanding of the outputs. So if you kind of think of those 3 levers, you've got the classics, the emerging alignment with outcomes, and the technicalities of how you can work with AI. You're going to head off a lot of these issues before they crop up. Yeah. So that's my 3.5-minute summary of how to solve this. What's your thoughts, Cole?
Well, I think, having put you on the spot, you've done a pretty good job answering that. I think that your middle point there around the OKRs and understanding your client's general breakdown of objectives and key results is critical for me. So what concerns me the most is that, a lot of the consultants that we work with, and people like ourselves, right, that have a lot of pre-Gen AI consulting experience, are able to apply judgment when they see a Gen AI output. So we're able to look at something and go, yeah, it just doesn't feel quite right. We need to go back. And even if we're going to continue to use Gen AI to help us, we need to reprompt it and start again. But for someone coming into the industry now, they're largely going to enter a world of consulting is prompt, validate, write up. They don't have that judgment experience built in to their DNA yet. And I think what is absolutely fundamental, and why we do it a lot of our training events as well, is can you understand your client's OKR structure, basically. That's one way of thinking about it, and where your work fits in. And I think as soon as you understand that, and I say that as if it's easy, that's quite a complicated thing to understand, and you might have different client types. But as soon as you can understand that quite well, that's the cornerstone of the judgment that you need to be bringing personally on top of your GenAI application. So I like your model of 3, and I'm gonna pick out the second one, the OKR structure, as being the most important. In my view,
that goes much broader than just using GenAI tools as well, right? Like, the more we can do that, the more value we're going to be creating, and the more we're going to be able to prove that value as well. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that sits under that. We're working on things. We're testing some stuff with our clients at the moment, partnering with a platform called Stellify that helps manage some of that stuff as well. So I'm super excited about the kind of outcomes based side of this and where that can take us.
Definitely a topic for another Live for 5, the outcomes based stuff, because we're already at 6 minutes. But thanks everyone for joining. As always, there's a QR code here. If you follow that, you'll get a load more resources from Honeycomb. But with that, on a Friday, have a great weekend, and we'll speak to you in the next one. Thanks everyone.
Thanks everyone.